Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome to part 1 of What If Deku had intuitive aptitude quirk. Izuku always wanted to be special, to have a quirk. And one day he got his wish. Izuku found out he could take quirks. Something Izuku didn't want. Unfortunately, this quirk came with a price. He needed more to have more. So, he became a hunter. A predator. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. After watching this video, don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Some individuals, it is true, are more special. This is natural selection. It begins as a single individual born or hatched like every other member of their species. Anonymous. Seemingly ordinary. Except they're not. They carry inside them the genetic code that will take their species to the next evolutionary rung. It's destiny. That is until something extraordinary happened. In the city of Quig, China, a newborn baby was discovered that could emanate from their body. This baffled many doctors and scientists around the world. After that, people from around the world started to use strange abilities. Scientists couldn't understand why this was happening. However, one scientist could only theorize that quirk phenomenon was the cause of evolution. Natural selection. As time went by, ordinary became the extraordinary, the supernatural became the natural. Soon, normal people weren't normal. Now 80% of world's population possess these abilities called quirks, while 20% are quirkless. One of whom is who our story follows. A boy who thought he was quirkless since he was 4 years old. He'd been bullied by everyone and looked down upon because of this. Even by his best friend, now turned bully Katsuki Bakugo. However, as time went by, when everything seemed hopeless, the boy, Izuku Midoriya, found out he did in fact had a quirk that could let him understand things, even very complex things. He could find any problem and fix it or make sense of it. Like a malfunctioning car engine, a clock, or even an advanced mathematical problem. He could even understand how people worked, how they ticked. And on that same fateful day, just as he was about to get mugged by some lowlife after heading back home from school, Izuku found out he could understand quirks, that he could copy them. All he had to do was just grab a person's head and look into their eyes. After doing so, he could see everything. Their dreams, desires, fears, and so many other things. And what made their quirk work? He could understand any quirk, its drawbacks and strengths. Unfortunately, at a cost. The mugger that attacked Izuku went limp. He left that mugger brain dead. A vegetable. His eyes lifeless. Shocked and horrified by what he did, Izuku ran home. Like his life depended on it. When he got home, Izuku completely locked himself in his room, worrying his mom greatly. Eventually, Izuku managed to calm down and tried to figure out what was happening. But as he did this, he found out yet another shocking discovery. He had another quirk, completely identical to the mugger's. All night Izuku wondered how and why. When he suddenly realized what his quirk could do, after finding out everything and making sense of it all, Izuku felt regret and fear. But what happened? What he did? So much so that he wondered if he should tell him mom and turn himself in. But something stopped him. Izuku came to realize he could finally achieve his dream. He could be a hero, like All Might. If the authorities or pro-heroes found out what he did, they would lock him up or send somewhere. He would never be able to achieve his dream, or see his mom or Kachan again. He couldn't let that happen. So he kept quiet and tried to forget what happened. For weeks it tore him up to lie to his mom. To lie about him having a quirk, 2 quirks. It burned him a little to still get bullied. But Izuku powered through it. His plan was originally to wait until he graduates, so he could apply to UA High School, the place where All Might and so many other heroes were once taught at, where he could be closer to reaching his dream. Unfortunately, as time went by, he found out his quirk had an unsettling side effect. He craved more. More power. He needed more quirks. He needed to know more, have more. Izuku tried his best to figure out what was wrong. But as his hunger grew, he started to look at his mom, Kachan, and anyone with a quirk differently. He was afraid what he might do if this hunger didn't stop. He couldn't tell his mom or anyone. Not if he wanted to risk everything. So with a heavy heart, he did the only thing he could do. He gave in to his hunger, but he promised to not use it on anyone he cared for or anyone innocent. No, he would target people who deserved it. The thugs, thieves, rapists, and other scum. No one would care. They didn't deserve such gifts in the first place. Izuku knew it's not what any hero would have done. Something All Might wouldn't have done, but he didn't want to hurt the ones he loved. He didn't have a choice. So, Izuku stalked the streets hunting and feeding his hunger. Thankfully, he managed to control his hunger, for at least a little while. He only had to hunt a couple of weeks. As months went by, the time for graduation grew close. And so was the time to apply to UA High School. Sadly, on a normal night, the night he would hunt, everything came crashing down. When he almost crossed the line, when he almost broke the promise he made to himself, all because of his hunger. The people he looked up to and dreamed of becoming finally found him. Apparently his victims has caught the attention of pro-heroes and police, and that's where our story begins. Musutafu, Japan at night. It was a cool and calm night. Something that wasn't too strange. After all, it was Musutafu City, home to many heroes and where UA High School was, where the next generation of heroes would be taught at. However, even with all of that, crime was still a thing. And not too long ago Musutafu had a bit of crime. That is until something strange was happening. People were being found in a brain-dead state, who were mostly thugs and other scum. Many thought it was a hero or vigilante setting up shop. But it wasn't. It had gotten so bad that many lowlifes and scum were leaving the city in droves, not wanting to end up like the people who were found. The police and heroes thought it had to be a vigilante, but they didn't have any solid evidence. The locals and lowlifes came up with a name for this person, the stalker. While things seemed quiet and peaceful, normal people were still afraid to go out at night. Even though it seemed this stalker had his eyes on lowlifes and other scum, no one wanted to take that chance. Unfortunately for one person, they had to brave the night. A woman around her late or early 40s was walking home. She had long dark hair which was tied into a bow tie from behind. She was wearing a simple sweater and had blush marks on her cheeks. She seemed to have a somewhat frog-like appearance. She looked to be carrying shopping bags of some kind. This woman appeared to be nervous walking around at night, especially considering the rumors she's heard. But she needed to pick up some stuff and medicine at the local 24-hour store. It was for her youngest daughter. She's been having a terrible sore throat, and she wanted to do something about, like any mother would do. Her eldest daughter, husband, and son didn't want her to go alone, but she convinced them she would be alright. Still though, she did feel nervous walking the semi-lit streets alone. It almost felt like she was being watched. Thankfully, she was almost home. Suddenly a loud noise caught her off guard that made her gasp in shock and fear. She quickly turned around to see a bent and broken can rolling on the ground towards her. She started to shake a little in fear when she noticed something moving in the shadows. "Who's there?" The woman fearfully croaked out with a slight ribbit. She didn't get a response, which only made her fear grow. That is until something small jumped out the shadows. It was a small black cat, who gave out a soft meow. The woman breathed out a sigh of relief. It was only a cat, the woman softy said with a small ribbit. She then turned around to resume heading home. That is until she came face to face with something that frightened the daylights out of her. Standing a few feet away from her was a person. This person was around 5 foot or 6 tall. This person looked to be a man, but she could really tell because of what they were wearing. This person was wearing a long black trench coat and a black t-shirt. She was also wearing a light baseball cap, light gray jeans, and oversized red shoes. The woman couldn't see their face because of the darkness, but she didn't have to. She knew who this person was. The stalker, who started to slowly walk towards her. "I'm not going to scream, if that's what you're hoping for," the woman shaking stated in a brave tone. As the stalker got closer, he began to raise his hand. Suddenly the woman froze in place, like something was stopping her from moving. Mostly likely the stalker's quirk. "What do you want?" The stalker remained silent as he stopped right in front of her. The woman was afraid, very afraid, but she kept calm as she tightened her grip on her shopping bags. "Please don't do this!" The woman tried to yell out but couldn't find the strength. The stalker didn't say a word as he began to reach his hands towards her face. Not knowing what was going to happen, the woman closed her eyes tightly, expecting the worst to come. Her thoughts then went to her family. "Please, I have a family." That's when the stalker stopped, his hand only a few inches away from the woman's face. When she opened her, she saw the stalker shaking, along with his hand, like he was trying to stop himself from doing something. Shortly after that, the woman felt her strength coming back. "Run!" The stalker groaned out in a strained and low voice, shocking the woman. Before she could say or do anything, a sudden and unseen force pushed her away. That's when she noticed the stalker extended his other hand just before it happened. I said, "Run!" The woman flinched in fear from the stalker's voice. She quickly turned around and started to run away, like her life depended, which it might have, leaving the dark and mysterious figure all alone. The stalker suddenly fell to their knees as he yelled out in pain. He kept on shaking, like he was having a seizure or something. He then used one hand to tightly grab hold of his other hand's wrist, like he was stopping it from doing something. "Why is this happening to me?" the stalker asked himself with a pain-filled voice. The stalker eventually stopped shaking, but remained in the same state he was in, his head lowered in what looked to be shame. So this is the infamous stalker? I was expecting so much more." The stalker quickly got up and turned around where he heard the voice. That's when he saw a man, a slender man of average height with messy, shoulder-length black hair that partially hangs in front of his face with half-open black eyes. He had a rugged and worn-out appearance with a bored or tired expression, probably both. He sported a ragged black outfit that consisted of a long-sleeved shirt and matching pants that were tucked into his boots. He also wore a utility belt and a rather tall and large scarf. He was currently wearing a pair of large yellow goggles for some reason. "Who are you?" the stranger just sighed. "Doesn't matter who I am. All you need to know is that I'm here to take you in," the stranger stated, rather bored with what was happening. "Now, are you going to come quietly or make this difficult?" The stalker tensed up. His worst fears had happened. He had caught the attention of the pro heroes. Maybe even the police too. He knew something like this would happen. He hoped that it wouldn't. The stalker knew almost every pro hero in Japan, but he didn't recognize this man. "You really don't want to do this," the stalker warned the stranger in a low and serious tone. "Please, I don't want to hurt anyone, especially a hero." The stranger gave a light chuckle as he smiled at the stalker strangely. "Sure. Like how you weren't going to hurt that woman." The stalker clenched his fist tightly as he glared at the hero, which only made him smile more. "You have a whole list of victims, stalker. At least 9 people, all of whom you've left brain dead. I don't know if you're doing this for fun or because of your view of justice, but it ends tonight." The stranger quickly launched a part of his scarf towards the stalker, who would have dodged or deflected it away, but something stopped him, like he couldn't activate his quirk. He was too late as he felt the scarf wrap around him. He tried to break free but to no avail. That's when he realized why. A steel wire alloy woven carbon nanofiber scarf. Never seen those before. Only heard stories about them, and who they're used by, the stalker stated softly as he stopped struggling. "You're Eraserhead, the pro hero who hates the media. Also a hero who could nullify quirks just by looking at that person. Quite an amazing quirk you have there." Eraserhead just scoffed. "Looks like this punk knew a bit about him. Unfortunately, such a quirk has drawbacks," the stalker stated rather seriously and in a matter-of-fact tone, getting Eraserhead's attention. "Your quirk is called Erasure. It's a rather powerful quirk but is useless when your sight is unstructured and deactivates if you blink. It's able to nullify emitter and transformation quirks but isn't effective against mutant quirks. It also gives you one bad case of dry eye." Eraserhead was shocked. How did this punk know that? Only few people know about that. Stalker eyes looked all over Eraserhead, like he was studying him. Your name is also Shota Aizawa, isn't it?" Eraserhead's eyes widened in shock as he tensed up. How did he know that? How did he know these things? Does he have a telepathic quirk? "Who are you?" Eraserhead asked dead serious as he glared at the mysterious stalker with his quirk activated. "And how do you know these things?" The stalker stood there silent for a while, but just long enough so Eraserhead could blink. And when he did, the stalker just sighed. "Someone you should have left alone." The stalker suddenly took a deep breath, and then blew out a large black haze from his mouth, surprising Eraserhead. Before he could tighten or pull his scarf, it all of a sudden went limp, like it wasn't holding something anymore. Soon the black haze reached Eraserhead, causing him to jump away while covering his mouth and nose with his scarf. Eraserhead saw Stalker rushing out of the large haze right towards him, while still blowing out that haze put of his mouth. The pro hero acted quickly and activated his quirk, shutting down Stalker's haze quirk. He was then about to launch his scarf to immobilize him again. However, Stalker saw it coming and with a flick of his hand, he pushed it away while midair. "What?" Eraserhead couldn't believe it. This punk had 2 quirks. Before Eraserhead could react, he was suckered punch in the face by Stalker, causing him to fall on his butt. It didn't hurt, but it sure surprised him. Stalker then quickly rushed past, running like hell. Damn it! Eraserhead cursed out with a growl as he got up and chased after the punk. Get back here! Stalker ran like his life depended on it. Which it did, of course. He couldn't get caught by anyone unless he wanted to lose everything he's worked hard for. He needed to lose this guy. But it looked like that wasn't going to happen. Stalker looked over his shoulder to see Eraserhead gaining on him. He was using his damn scarf to grab a hold of anything to swing off it. Like a damn monkey or spider. Come on! As Stalker kept on running, he noticed he was heading towards an alleyway with a dead end. Which made Eraserhead smile. There was no way out this punk was escaping. But Eraserhead stopped smiling when he saw something unbelievable. Just as he was near the dead end, Stalker performed a massive jump. So massive that he perfectly landed on top of the building's roof. That's not possible, Eraserhead said in shock and disbelief. There's no way someone can have that many quirks. Eraserhead quickly launched himself in the air, and then he threw a part of his scarf up towards the roof. When he caught a hold of something, he used all his strength to pull himself up. When he got up on the roof, he saw Stalker running and jumping across the rooftops. Shit! Eraserhead then resumed his chase as he ran after Stalker, running and jumping across rooftops just like him. Stalker looked over his shoulder to see that he was still being pursued. As he was looking over, he failed to notice a fast-approaching figure coming right at him. When he looked, he was too late. The figure punched him right in the face. Stop right there, villain! Before Stalker knew what hit him, he was sent falling down towards a busy crowded street, with cars going back and forth along with people walking about. Something Eraserhead and the figure didn't want to happen. Oh, damn it, Kamui Woods! Eraserhead yelled out as he got closer and closer. Catch him! The figure, Kamui Woods, wore a black unitard with a wood helmet, wooden gloves that reached past his forearm, a wooden belt, and wooden shoes. He was a up-and-coming hero. A rookie. But that didn't mean he was weak or didn't have an interesting quirk. Got it! Kamui Woods yelled out as he summoned wood and branches from out his hand that were heading towards Stalker, hoping to catch him and immobilize him. You're mine! As Stalker flew through the air, he saw the wood and branches coming at him, his eyes analyzing everything from Kamui Woods to his quirk. He then sighed. Wood eh? Stalker asked out loud as the wood got closer and closer towards him. But just as it was about to grab a hold of him, an emerald-like fire appeared out nowhere and engulfed his entire left hand. Sorry, Kamui Woods, but I got you beat. Forgive me. Then with a loud yelled, Stalker extended his hand towards Kamui Woods. As his hand shot out fire like a flamethrower at Kamui Woods, who barely had enough time to deactivate his quirk and dodge the flames. What the hell? Kamui Woods exclaimed in shock. The rumors said he would have an immobilizing or telekinetic quirk. He does! Eraserhead yelled out as he ducked down to avoid any flames heading at him. He has 3 quirks. What? While he had the heroes preoccupied, Stalker tried to figure a way out this situation. He didn't have a teleportation quirk to get himself out of here. He was running out of options. He got closer to the street. It looked like he was going to land hard in the middle of the road. He didn't have a choice. He had to use that quirk. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Just as Stalker was about to hit the road, his whole skin and face quickly turned into stone. Crash! Cars on the road stopped, and so did the people on the sidewalks. They looked to where they all heard that crash, and saw dust in the air. Then, like something from out of a movie, Stalker arose from a small crater he made, his skin still stone. He started to dust himself. What's going on? Oh my god! Is it a villain attack? Stalker took a look around to see that everyone had their eyes on him. People from all walks of life, ages and genders looking on at him. Those in vehicles on the road stopped to get a look what was happening. A few people were even recording or taking pictures on their cell phones. All of this wasn't supposed to happen. All Stalker wanted was to stop his hunger. He didn't want to hurt or scare that woman. Thankfully, he stopped himself before anything bad had happened. Sadly, he was still in a huge mess. He didn't have the right quirk to get out this situation. Out all of the ones he copied/stole, he was still useless. Look! It's Kamui Woods and some other hero! A random bystander called out, pointing up at a nearby building. Stalker and everyone looked up to see Eraserhead and Kamui Woods looking down, right at Stalker, who sighed heavily. Stop right there, villain! Kamui Woods yelled out in a very proud and loud voice. He then jumped down onto the sidewalk. You shall not take any more victims! Stalker! After Kamui Woods said that, Everyone began to talk and whisper among each other. That's the stalker. Did Kamui Woods say villain? I thought the stalker only took out thugs and other lowlifes. Go get him, Kamui Woods. You can do it. Teach that no-good villain a lesson. Kamui Woods felt his chest swell up with pride. Hearing the people talk about him and cheering him on made him happy. Eraserhead shook his head with a groan. He really did want to catch unwanted attention, especially if this reached the media. But he had to bring this punk in. He was too dangerous to let free, and it looked like Kamui Woods wouldn't be able to handle him alone, as the cheers kept on going for the heroes, and the boos and jeers for Stalker. It was starting to get to him. His hunger, it needed to be fed, but the only ones nearby are innocents or heroes. Stalker started to clench his fists and teeth. He had to fight this urge. But he couldn't. He wasn't strong enough. Kamui Woods and Eraserhead saw this. Eraserhead knew something was up with this punk. He was different, he acted different. Like he was fighting control for his body. And he was losing. While this was happening, Kamui Woods saw this as an opportunity to end this. Now is my chance! Kamui Woods yelled out as started to activate his quick. His arm began morph into wood branches and shot out at Stalker in all directions. Stalker just stood there as the branches got closer. Then out of nowhere, he began to smile like a maniac. Lacquered chains prison, but before Kamui Woods' attack reached Stalker, a giant and sudden kick sent Stalker flying right into a car. Thankfully no one was in the car, but it was completely totaled on impact. And Stalker laid there motionless on the bent and wrecked up front. Fortunately for him, he activated his stone quirks so he wasn't hurt too bad, but it looked like he was going to get for a while. Cannon! The heroes and bystanders looked to see a woman with long, voluminous blonde hair curled into 2 strands and purple eyes with white pupils. And she was gigantic. Her costume was composed of a purple and cream-colored skin-tight bodysuit that is accented with orange stripes. Her bodysuit also had 3 peculiar orange diamond-shaped dots on the purple top that were located under her chest. She also wore a purple domino mask with horn-like protrusions on the sides. This woman was Mount Lady, an up-and-coming hero just like Kamui Woods. Eraserhead, Kamui Woods and everyone couldn't believe what had just happened. Meanwhile, Mount Lady got off the ground and smiled and did a pose. Hello everyone! Mount Lady exclaimed out loud, proud as she posed for anyone recording or taking pictures. Your hero has arrived! Soon people started to cheer. Many started taking pictures of Mount Lady, all of whom were men, while Eraserhead and Kamui Woods were still reeling from what happened. Eventually Kamui Woods lowered his head in depression and shame, while Eraserhead sighed as he face-palmed. This is why I prefer working alone. Eraserhead, or Aizawa as his friends called him, sighed. He then looked over to where Stalker was. He still looked unconscious. Thankfully Mount Lady didn't kill him. That attack of hers is overkill sometimes. At least we got the job done. Aizawa then brought his attention back at Mount Lady, who was getting everyone's attention. He shook his head in disapproval. While everyone had their attention on Mount Lady, everyone including the heroes failed to notice Stalker was beginning to move. Thank you all. I just want to say, while I've only been an active hero for a short time, I'm happy I was able to catch the infamous Stalker dash before Mount Lady could finish and before she and everyone knew it. A car door was thrown and struck her square on the face. The force was hard enough to make her yelp in pain and force her down on one knee. She held where she was hit and moaned in pain. Everyone looked over to where the car door came from and saw Stalker, still in his stone form. He was standing up on top of the wrecked car while carrying another car door like it was nothing. He quickly smiled as he saw everyone's shocked and horrified faces. That's an awesome quirk, Stalker stated in a very awestruck and unnaturally kind tone. His smile then turned into a twisted one as he eyed Mount Lady strangely. I can't wait to try it. After I take it from you. Before anyone knew it, Eraserhead and Kamui Woods leapt or ran towards Stalker, with the intent to take him down. Stalker sighed once again. He just about had enough of this. Stop! Stalker yelled out as he raised his free hand. Suddenly both Aizawa and Kamui Woods stopped, frozen in midair. They were shocked at first, just like everyone who saw, but they quickly tried to struggle or use their quirks only to find out they couldn't. Can't use your quirks, can you? Both pro-heroes looked to see Stalker smiling at them. He then raised hand higher, which caused Aizawa and Kamui Woods to be risen too. I call this quirk Pacify. It's almost like telekinesis mixed with your Erasure quirk, Eraserhead. This is one of the first quirks I took. Pretty handy, Stalker explained, still smiling. He then motioned his hand to bring Aizawa and Kamui Woods closer, which it did. Stalker leaned right in their faces. Unfortunately, I can't use it for long. Usually this how I catch my prey, and I would have their quirk by now, and I'd be home with my mom. No fuss, no muss. But you two and my morals made me miss my dinner. Now, I'm going to have to deal with you two first before I feed. So bye. And with that, Stalker flicked his hand and sent the two heroes fast into a building. Aizawa was sent through a window, breaking it and sending broken glass everywhere. Kamui Woods wasn't too lucky and hit the hard concrete building's outside wall. When hitting the wall, a nasty crunch was heard and Kamui Woods screamed in pain. Oh, this caused many onlookers to gasp, scream, or run in fear. Children who were present held on to their parents and looked away in fear. Many women yelled or screamed in horror. Men just stood there helpless and afraid. A couple people ran away too, not wanting to be next or see what was going on. Few wanted to be brave and help, but couldn't because of their fear. As Kamui Woods continued to scream in pain, Stalker groaned in annoyance. It didn't have to be this way. But you left me no choice, Stalker stated in a low tone with a light frown. He then noticed Mount Lady beginning to get up, and she looked very mad. Please stay down. No more people have to get hurt. Please, Mount Lady glared at Stalker with all her might. I'm gonna make you pay for what you did to them, Mount Lady yelled out as she leaped right at Stalker, with her gained fist raised. You bastard, Stalker sighed. Looked like this was going to be troublesome. He couldn't use his pacify since he already used it, and overusing it would only hurt him. He decided to rely on his other quirks. Here, Stalker yelled out as she threw the car door he was holding at Mount Lady. She quickly shielded her face, expecting it to hit her there. But she was wrong as it hit leg hard. She yelled out in pain and fell to one knee again, giving Stalker his chance. You're mine! Stalker quickly raised his other hand and balled into a fist. He then pointed right at Mount Lady, who kept on charging right at him. Just as she was about to reach him, he opened his hand and a wave of sound was fired at Mount Lady. That sounded like a high pitch of something. She immediately stopped and fell to the ground on her knees. Oh, Mount Lady tried to shield her ears but was too late. She wallowed and screamed in pain. She began to get a bloody nose and was getting dizzy and tired. Something Stalker noticed. That's it. Go to sleep. I promise you won't feel a thing, Stalker said somewhat softly as he slowly walked over to Mount Lady, who couldn't do a thing. Forgive me, but it's either you or any one of these innocent bystanders. Please, understand I don't have a choice. As Stalker got closer and closer to Mount Lady, the giant of a woman felt fear and anger, but anger above anything. So much that she powered through the pain and tried to attack Stalker with a massive right hook punch. Fortunately for Stalker, he saw the attack coming and used his enhanced jumping quirk to avoid it. He had to stop using his sound emission though. Unfortunately, while Stalker avoided the attack, Mount Lady couldn't stop herself until it was too late. Her massive fist collided with a nearby run-down building. She punched a hole right through the building, sending debris and causing the building to shake. Oh crap! Mount Lady yelled out as she tried to pull her fist out of the building. While completely unaware, she was sending debris down to innocent bystanders, who all scrambled to get out of the way. She kept on trying to break free, causing the building to shake even more. Come on! Stalker looked on at the scene in shock. What was she doing? She was making the whole building unstable. He saw people running or panicking. His eyes then laid on a woman trying to shield her child from the falling debris, which caused her to get struck by a piece of debris that knocked her out, making her fall onto her child. Mommy! The child yelled out as he tried to wake her up or push her off, but to no avail. Mommy, wake up! Stalker didn't why, but something clicked inside him. Seeing that woman get hurt and seeing her and that child in danger did something to him. Like his need to help outweigh his need to feed. That's when everything made sense now. He did this. He hurt the heroes and placed all these people in danger. He was the villain. Guilt and anguish filled his heart. Mount Lady was panicking, which only made her try to pull her hand out even more, only further shaking the building. It would only be a matter of until the building would collapse, and then fall down onto the knocked out woman and her child. Stalker knew that he had to stop that from happening. At any cost. He had to make up for his mistake, all of his mistakes. Finally, the worst possible outcome happened. Mount Lady pulled her hand out of the building. She smiled very proudly, but that smile turned into a face of horror when she realized what she did. The old and abandoned building began to break up and collapse, all of it directed at the unconscious woman, her child and few others who wouldn't be able to run away in time. No! Mount Lady yelled out as she tried to reach and grab as many people she could. But before that happened, Stalker rushed past Mount Lady at inhuman speeds. His baseball cap was gone as he threw it away, revealing his hair and face to the world. Stalker had messy dark green hair with black highlights. His eyes were green and his cheeks had a few freckles too. He looked like a kid, probably no older than 14 or 15. And that's not what shocked everyone. It's what he did next that did. Stalker ran right under the falling building and raised his hands in the air. Stop! Stalker yelled out, activating his pacify quirk. But instead of using it on people, he was using it on the collapsing building and debris, making them freeze in midair. Everyone couldn't believe it. This person, who attacked and injured 2 pro heroes, was saving people. Stalker looked down at the people he saved, with a stressed and strained expression. Run! The bystanders were still looking confused and shocked, none of them bothering to move. I said run! I can't hold this forever, Stalker yelled out. Go! Now! Not wanting to make him to repeat himself, everyone under the frozen collapsing building scrambled to get out of the way and ran for their lives. All except for the unconscious woman and her kid, who looked at Stalker, reaching his hand out with a frightened and pleading face. Stalker fell on his knees, his nose started to bleed. His pacify quirk wasn't supposed to last this long or hold this many things at once. But he had to. For that kid and his mom. He slowly turned his head around to look up at Mount Lady, with a strained and pleading face. Save them! Stalker yelled out as he felt his strength leaving him. Mount Lady looked shocked at first, but quickly nodded. Now! Mount Lady immediately reached out and carefully grabbed the child and his mother, who was starting to wake up. The giant quickly pulled them out of harm's way, leaving only Stalker holding up the fallen building and debris. The child he and Mount Lady saved couldn't help but look at him. It wasn't a look of fear or hate, but a look of admiration and gratefulness. The look that someone would give a hero. That's all Stalker needed to see. Everyone was safe, all except him, with a strained yet relieved smile. Of all the mistakes he's made, it made him swell with happiness and gratefulness. Still though, it was too late. With a sigh, Stalker deactivated his quirk, releasing the falling building and debris, all aimed at him. Mount Lady, the child and many others could only look on in horror. Mount Lady quickly rushed to try and save Stalker. Unfortunately, she wouldn't make in time. While everyone could only look on, Aizawa, who had recovered from getting thrown through a window with a few scrapes and cuts, had jumped out of the broken window to look on at Stalker with a confused expression. The same with Kamui Woods, who stopped screaming. The young man known as Stalker just sadly smiled as he looked up at the collapsing building and debris coming at him. There was no way out of this. None of the quirks he's collected the last couple of months could help. Maybe 1 or 2, but he was too weak. He strained himself too much. This was it. The end. Maybe this is for the best. I caused so much pain and hurt too many people. Attacked the people I'd admired since I could walk. I deserve this. Stalker thought, still smiling as everything seemed to slow down around him. His thoughts went to his mother and other people he cared for, which was a really short list. Looks like you were right, Ka-chan. I'll never be a hero after all. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I'm not the son you wanted. I'm just a monster. Stalker then smiled as he remembered he saved that child and his mom and so many other people. Not bad for a monster. At least he would die knowing he did something right. And with that, the vigilante/villain known as the Stalker closed his eyes, awaiting the end. But just as the debris and building were about to hit him, a loud swoosh was heard and Stalker felt someone or something grab him. Swoosh! Stalker opened his eyes to see what happened, and he was shocked beyond belief to see he was in the arms of someone. Someone who saved him from getting crushed. But what shocked him more was the fact who saved him. The person who saved him was an extremely large man with a very tall and overly muscular figure. He had short blonde hair with 2 distinct bangs that stood up over his head. His hair casted a dark shadow over his face, hiding everything but his deep blue eyes. He wore a skin-tight blue bodysuit decorated with a red symbol that somewhat resembled a Y. The symbol was designed with a white diamond at its center, with white lines connected to it that traced from the man's chest to his back shoulders. The lines looked to be trimmed with the aforementioned red symbol. The symbol appeared to have wings on the sides that ran from atop his torso before ending around to his back. Over his back was a similar red and white design absent of the white diamond. Large white patches with red trims covered each side of his hips before ending at his lower thighs. He also wore a gold belt that had a silver buckle with red eyes. His forearm sleeves were colored in gold that each had white lines covered in blue accents over his wrists. He had spiked fins on the sides of his arms, and his feet were covered in shin-length gold boots trimmed with white and red accents. Stalker knew who this man was. Everyone knew. This man was the world's symbol of peace. He was the #1 hero of Japan. The same man Stalker strived to become. A true hero. All Might, have no fear! All Might stated with a booming and righteous voice. His smile was big and bright that would make his enemies fear him, and give his allies and citizens hope. For I am here! Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating what-if scenario of Deku. The possibilities were truly mind-blowing. If you found this video entertaining and thought-provoking, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to bring you more captivating content in the future. Stay tuned for more exciting what-if stories and other amazing videos coming your way. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep embracing the power of imagination.